The Formula by Quinton Sanders. My epiphany story. I've never taken the time to share my story, but right now, I feel compelled to do so. I want to tell you about my journey, where I've been, where I'm headed, and why Inside Hustle is meant for you. My hustle began at the young age of 12 and continued until I turned 38. That's a 26-year-long career of grinding and striving for the bag. However, it all came crashing down during a drought while I was in San Francisco. Panic was in the air as everyone around me seemed to be affected. In my search for work, I crossed paths with an individual who turned out to be an undercover agent. Shockingly, just 2 hours after returning to town, I found myself behind bars. Fortunately, I was able to post bail the following day. Yet, due to my parole status, I failed to report, leading to a blue warrant and 4 years on the run, from 2012 to 2016. During my time as a fugitive, I turned to Jesus and asked for guidance, to become more creative and find another way to succeed. It was in November 2012 that I joined Stream Energy, a network marketing company. Little did I know, their convention would introduce me to Robert Kiyosaki, an influential speaker. Before this encounter, I was unaware of his philosophy on money. Intrigued, I had my girlfriend record the conference, and what Robert Kiyosaki shared completely shifted my perspective on credit, debt, real estate, and taxes. One concept that resonated deeply was the difference between good debt and bad debt. Good debt involves others paying off your debt, such as a mortgage on an apartment that tenants contribute to. On the other hand, bad debt is when you are solely responsible for repayment, like paying rent for an apartment. This revelation opened my eyes to the landlord's ingenious hustle. He leverages credit to secure a product, the apartment, for 30 days at a time, while the bank provided the necessary loan. In essence, he used other people's money, OPM, twice over, both the banks and the tenants. Witnessing this, I became convinced of the power of credit. And so, my journey continued, fueled by newfound knowledge and determination. Little did I know how much credit would shape my path and lead me to new opportunities. There were aspects of the game that I absolutely loved and others that I despised, but credit wasn't one of them. When my life as a hustler came to an end after 26 years, I found myself lost in the realm of financial stability. The constant thoughts of not having a plan or direction for credit while constantly being on the run began to weigh me down. The burden of the world seemed to rest upon my shoulders. Eventually, I ended up in the hands of the authorities, only to be released in February 2, 2018. Unemployed and with no real job experience aside from parole-related obligations, I felt utterly defeated. It was during one fateful morning that everything changed. I stumbled upon a man who generously shared invaluable knowledge about fixing my credit. I knew I had to invest in his course. On a Black Friday sale, I purchased the course for $3,500, a hefty discount from its original price of $6,500. However, acquiring the funds for the course proved to be quite challenging. With only a $1,000 credit card at my disposal, I resorted to buying 7 prepaid cards worth $500 each. Unfortunately, while attempting to set up the cards for the purchase, Green Dot froze my money. Frustrated, I had to find an alternative method. I decided to purchase $3,500 in money orders, but that plan also fell through. Undeterred, I opted to obtain a certified check and express mailed it to them. Finally, I gained access to the class. From November to February, I immersed myself in studying the intricacies of credit. I learned its language and became well-versed in its nuances. Armed with newfound knowledge, I embarked on a journey of credit repair from February to May. Then, on the 27th of May, while scrolling through Facebook, I stumbled upon a post by Ken Fulton, who had been absent from society for 17 years. His words resonated with me deeply. This really works. A family member did this for me after being gone 17 years. This is a blessing. I'm in truck driving school now, and y'all know what's next. Big things #LifeInHeads #ReturnCitizens #FamilySupport #ChangingLives #ChristAlone. In that moment, I experienced an epiphany, a realization that I possessed the skills and knowledge to help others in similar situations. I had a college-like learning experience in the feds. I had mentors, and one of them was using credit to construct houses, all from the 5 button on the phone and core links. Having experienced the struggles of not being able to provide for my children while incarcerated, and the overwhelming feeling of being released with little to no resources, I decided to merge my past life of crime with my newfound passion for building and repairing credit. My goal was to make a profound difference in people's lives, to give instead of take. Externally, my burning desire was to create a platform where I could positively impact others and guide them towards a brighter future. I was seeking something similar to what I had been doing in the game, but I didn't want to go back to the street life aspect. One of my desires was to rediscover myself, to redefine my purpose. I took it one day at a time, unsure of what each day would bring, but I was determined. I began searching for opportunities and noticed the potential in creating something online. Many people were already offering credit classes online, but none were focused on helping incarcerated individuals like me. 3 months prior, I had no knowledge of credit or how to start a webinar, let alone build a ClickFunnels. When I started the class in November 2020, there were only 7 classes available. However, even with those 7, I felt like I had robbed them. It was the best $3,500 I had ever spent. Now, as of August 1, 2021, there are 13 classes available. Ken's post didn't mention a class on building webinars, but by the end of June, such a class had been added, along with one on content creation. I invested a significant amount of money in creating ClickFunnels and using ActiveCampaign. I had numerous tools and opportunities at my disposal, allowing me to reach out to the disadvantaged prison and parole community. Slowly but surely, my voice and confidence were returning. By 2023, I had already published 4 books and made a positive impact by assisting incarcerated individuals in writing and publishing their own books at federal and state prisons. I also shared my knowledge with Ken Fulton on obtaining multiple credit cards and leveraging credit. This valuable information has provided me with alternatives and prevented me from returning to slang and yayo. However, I faced the challenge of finding a way to generate consistent income to support my family. Despite experiencing multiple failures both inside and outside prison, there was one thing I adamantly refused to do: I would not return to the game. I was determined to discover a new path towards financial stability. In a surprising move, I decided to remove money from the equation. I pondered, if money were not a factor, what would truly bring me joy? What would make my family happy? The answer was clear: I found immense satisfaction in helping others succeed, without relying on illicit means. I relished the opportunity to contribute to their growth and development, even within the confines of the game. Then came June, a pivotal month when new classes were introduced. It was during this time that I embarked on a journey to learn how to build a ClickFunnels website. This platform would enable me to create webinars and connect with the underserved community I felt a deep sense of obligation towards. My desire to make a meaningful contribution extended beyond mere obligation. I believed in my ability to make a real impact by promoting financial literacy. I wanted to demonstrate how to establish personal and business credit, create merchandise, and start an e-commerce store. I learned about AI, 3D printing, virtual reality, augmented reality, and more through magazines. However, I felt that these resources didn't cater to my culture and needs. So, I decided to create my own version of popular mechanics called Inside Hustle. This magazine showcases successful entrepreneurial felons, sharing their stories of what worked and what didn't, especially for those who are still incarcerated. Additionally, I included everything I learned from the aforementioned class, which covers subjects that are not typically taught in prison. Motivated by my newfound purpose, I poured my heart and soul into writing my first ebook titled The Formula. This book encapsulated my knowledge and experiences, delving into credit-related topics that credit bureaus and schools often neglect to teach. It served as a comprehensive guide for confidently repairing one's credit. All that I have mentioned thus far acted as the catalyst, the light bulb moment that illuminated my true calling. This was what I truly wanted to do, it was my purpose, my reason for being. Allow me to paint you a picture. Imagine finding yourself in a vast, unfamiliar city. You navigate its streets, feeling lost and disoriented. However, in the heart of the city, towering skyscrapers offer a bird's-eye view of the surroundings, providing a glimpse of what lies beyond. Ideally, this vantage point should help you find your way to the affluent side of town once you descend to street level. For me, however, this approach never quite worked. I needed more than just a view from above. I required a map or GPS to guide me toward the prosperous side of town that I wanted to reach. Please understand that it wasn't that I didn't want to find my way to prosperity on my own, I was simply lost. After spending 26 years wandering aimlessly in the maze of the big city, without a map or GPS, I would remain oblivious to the existence of an escape route. It's easy to fall into the belief that being perpetually lost in the city is an acceptable way of life, a sad state of contentment. My perspective is that life resembles a journey through an unfamiliar metropolis. At times, you may ascend to the tallest building, taking in the panoramic view, but sometimes most of the time it really doesn't help. It's so many dead-end options, and I'm convinced that I found just about every dead-end option that there was. There are a lot of other people that are winning in their journeys and venues and are successful, but their journey is not mine and they might not be yours either, but because of my long journey, I'm now able to help people move forward faster and in much less time and with much less failure in their lives. Now failure can teach us a lot, and I'm not trying to take away the struggle from people's lives, but I'm helping them not to make all the mistakes and go through a lot of the pain that I went through. So the conflict that I'm having is I'm thinking that income is the outcome inside and out blueprint is absolutely amazing, and this can help so many people who are stuck between a street life career and prison try to figure out what's next in their lives. So how can I share this pathway I discovered with the world? My goal is to help others gain clarity quickly and affordably, with guaranteed results. I'm offering a low-cost subscription of just $24 per month. By subscribing, you'll receive a monthly email that teaches valuable skills such as writing and publishing books, as well as 21st-century lessons like AI, augmented reality, virtual reality, building credit, and starting an LLC. It is crucial to understand your industry and establish credit before your return to society. This way, you'll be well prepared with a solid framework, a new mindset, and a strategic game plan. The one thing that I've always been good at is creating and designing a well-thought-out route to get to the money. If I design a city, I could do it in such a way that people would get through it really quickly, because for me it's not about the big city trap and being lost, but it's about being found and staying found. It's no fun being lost. But what I've been able to develop with income is the outcome inside and out. And it's based on this. Everybody and every business needs one thing. And that one thing is credit. The biggest transformation for me is discovering that the more I help other people in their journey of rediscovery, the clearer my own journey is becoming. I don't want you to fade the streets or ever have to eat a cold soup again. Life has brought me full circle. I didn't love the game for all that it was. What I loved about the game was it was a ladder to come up. It was a venue to help feed my family. My ladder has changed and my purpose has never been stronger. My lifelong aspiration has always been to help my people get money. It was the same motivation then and it's the same now. Today, I offer you the opportunity to refine both your personal and business endeavors. And that's what I have for you today. Chapter 1. How Credit Reporting Works. 3 entities make up the credit reporting system: consumers, credit bureaus, and financial companies. Consumer, a person or corporation who purchases goods and services for personal or business purposes. Credit bureaus. Information about your credit cards, loan accounts and credit inquiries is reported electronically through TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian by lenders and creditors about every 30 days. These bureaus collect and store your credit information in your profile for future reference. Your behaviors can be reviewed in the future by others to determine your risk level. A personal credit score can range between 300 to 850. A credit score of 700 or above is generally considered as good. A score of 800 or above on the same range is considered to be excellent. Most credit scores fall between 600 and 750. Higher scores represent better credit decisions and can make creditors more confident that you will repay your future debts as agreed. Businesses such as auto loan lenders, banks, credit card companies and insurance agencies use your credit data from the credit bureaus to determine your risk level. Once they have an idea of how risky it is to lend you money, they can determine the rates you'll have to pay or other terms and conditions. They may also use this information to send you pre-approved offers in the mail. Financial companies, a company concerned primarily with providing money, as for short-term loans. Finance companies are commonly referred to as lenders of last resort. Their rates and terms are not as favorable as those offered by banks and credit unions, so higher-risk consumers tend to depend on them for their credit needs. Having a finance company account on your credit report could cost you points. Credit reporting works like this. Step 1. Credit scores are used by lenders to make decisions about whether or not to offer you credit. Step 2. When creditors and lenders check your credit, they're likely to do so with one of the major credit reporting agencies, TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian. These three agencies retain information on more than 200 million Americans. The data the bureaus have in your credit files is used to calculate your credit scores. Your credit scores are determined by 5 major factors: payment history, debt usage, age of credit accounts, types of accounts, number of inquiries. Payment history. Your payment history is a record of on-time, late and missed payments on past and current credit accounts. These accounts can include credit cards, lines of credit, personal loans and mortgages. Your payment history indicates to a potential lender the likelihood of you successfully repaying your debt, or going into default. It also factors into a significant percentage of your credit score. Though exactly how much it contributes isn't clear, scoring models like to keep their algorithms close to the vest. FICO, however, claims that 35% of your FICO score comes from the behaviors revealed by your payment history. Payments made far after their due date ultimately weigh more heavily on your score. This is because negative scores tend to increase the longer it takes you to repay your obligations. However, a payment history that's free of late payments doesn't guarantee a high score. Neither will a handful of late payments dramatically decrease your score if the rest of your financial history is stellar. Credit bureaus consider several factors in computing your credit score, often using a proprietary algorithm. Debt usage. Credit cards provide the ability to build a credit record and receive a credit score. When you use credit cards responsibly, you have access to additional funds in an emergency, you can finance large purchases that might take a few months to pay off, you can earn points or cashback rewards on your monthly spending, and in some cases, you have access to services such as roadside assistance, travel plan assistance, upscale airport lounges, and concierge help while traveling. If you have a high credit utilization on your cards, you may find yourself with a lower FICO score on your credit report, a more difficult time making larger monthly payments, and potentially higher interest rate on your cards if you make any payments late. Credit utilization has a big influence on your credit score, so you should know what it is and how you can manage it in order to attain the best credit rating and all benefits which come with it. Credit utilization is the ratio of your outstanding credit card balances to your credit card limits. It measures the amount of credit limit you are using. For example, if your balance is $300 and your credit limit is $1,000, then your credit utilization for that credit card is 30%. Age of credit accounts. The length of credit history category of FICO makes up about 15% of your credit score. Average age of accounts equals the total months of all of the accounts on your credit report, from the open dates to the present, divided by the number of accounts. While 15% of your score doesn't sound like much, especially when compared to the payment history and amounts owed, a longer credit history could help your credit score. Types of accounts. Revolving accounts. Revolving accounts are those that have a different payment each month depending on your current balance. These are accounts that you are not required to pay in full each month. You have the option to revolve some or all of the balance to the following month. Lenders charge you interest on the amount you revolve, and this is how they make money. Some examples of revolving accounts are credit cards issued by a bank or a credit union. These are accounts backed by a major payment network. These accounts are extremely common because almost all banks and credit unions are able to issue them to their customers. Credit cards issued by a retail store. These are accounts that are issued by the stores where you like to shop. Some examples are Macy's credit card, Target Red Card, Pep Boys credit card, and a Dillard's card. There are hundreds of other examples. Most of us have several of these types of cards, too. Credit cards issued by an oil company. These are accounts that are issued by a petroleum company. Some examples are Techron, Texaco and Chevron, Advantage Card, ExxonMobil Smart Card, Shell Card, and BP Credit Card. Home equity lines of credit, also known as a HELOC. These are loans that allow you to tap into the equity of your home. These loans are generally easy to obtain from most reputable banks and credit unions. These accounts are very common in part because the interest is tax-deductible in most cases. Check with your tax advisor to see if your account qualifies for a tax deduction. Installment accounts. Installment accounts are those which have a fixed payment for a fixed period of time. As with revolving accounts, you are not required to pay them in full each month. You are allowed to make a payment which will be the same every month until the loan is paid in full. Lenders charge you an annual percentage rate, also known as an APR, and this is how they make money. Some examples of installment accounts include auto loans. Auto loans are issued by either a bank, a credit union, or by a company that specializes in automobile lending. Mortgage loans. Mortgage loans are issued by either a bank, a credit union, or a company that specializes in mortgage lending. Student loans. These loans are used to pay for academic-related expenses such as tuition, room, and board. Home equity loans. A home equity loan is a fixed amount of money that you borrow. Once you take that loan out, your payment is fixed for the duration of the payback period. A home equity line of credit, conversely, gives you the flexibility of taking out some or the entire approved amount. Signature loans. Signature loans are just what they sound like. You walk into a bank or credit union and tell them you want to borrow some money and sign a guarantee to pay it back. Credit builder loans. Credit builder loans are offered by some financial institutions. You put some money down in a savings account and pay yourself back. Once it's paid back, you gain access to the savings that you put in. Open accounts. 10+ open accounts are probably the least common of the 3 account types we'll profile. Also referred to as open credit, these are a hybrid of installment and revolving credit. The payment is not the same each month and it's usually due in full at the end of each billing cycle. The consumer satisfies financial responsibility for the account when the bill is paid in full each month. This cycle can go on as long as the consumer has an account with the service provider. An account with a utility company is one example of open credit. A customer with an account for gas or electric service doesn't know what their payment will be each month. As you can imagine, electric bills can vary a lot from month to month depending on the seasons and air conditioner/heater usage, and the customer is responsible for making this varying payment each month. Most utilities, cellular service, and some gas station cards are other examples of open credit. But perhaps the most widely known example of an open account is a charge card. Charge cards look and act like credit cards, but with one key difference: you're expected to pay that balance off in full by the end of the month. Number of inquiries, 2 to 3. Credit inquiries are requests by a legitimate business to check your credit. As far as your FICO score is concerned, credit inquiries are classified as either hard inquiries or soft inquiries. Only hard inquiries have an effect on your FICO score. Soft inquiries are all credit inquiries where your credit is not being reviewed by a prospective lender. These include inquiries where you're checking your own credit, such as checking your score in MyFICO, credit checks made by businesses to offer you goods or services, such as promotional offers by credit card companies, or inquiries made by businesses with whom you already have a credit account. Hard inquiries are credit inquiries where a potential lender is reviewing your credit because you've applied for credit with them. These include credit checks when you've applied for an auto loan, mortgage, or credit card. Each of these types of credit checks count as a single credit inquiry. One exception occurs when you are rate shopping. That's a smart thing to do, and your FICO score considers all inquiries within a 45-day period for a mortgage, an auto loan, or a student loan as a single credit inquiry. This same guideline also applies to a search for a rental property such as an apartment. These inquiries are usually recorded by the credit bureau as a type of real estate-related inquiry, so the FICO score will treat them the same way. You can avoid lowering your FICO score by doing your apartment hunting within a short period. Inquiries may or may not affect your FICO score. A FICO score takes into account only voluntary inquiries that result from your application for credit. The information about inquiries that can be factored into your FICO score includes the number of recently opened accounts, and the proportion of accounts that are recently opened, by type of account. Time since credit inquiries. A FICO score does not take into account any involuntary inquiries made by businesses with whom you did not apply for credit, inquiries from employers, or your own requests to see your credit report. For many people, one additional credit inquiry, voluntary and initiated by an application for credit, may not affect their FICO score at all. For others, one additional credit inquiry could take less than 5 points off their FICO score. Inquiries can have a greater impact, however, if you have few accounts or a short credit history. Large numbers of inquiries also mean greater risk. People with 6 inquiries or more on their credit reports are 8 times more likely to declare bankruptcy than people with no inquiries on their reports. The best way to have healthy credit is to remain responsible about the credit cards or loans you have. Making your loan payments on time each month and maintaining a good credit utilization ratio, the amount of debt you have in relation to your overall credit limit, can help you get those good sought-after scores. Using credit irresponsibly by making late payments and maxing out credit limits can have damaging effects on your credit. The truth. 1 in 5 people find errors in their credit report. Credit report mistakes can lead to disqualification for mortgages and car loans, as well as increased insurance premiums and interest rates. In some cases, those mistakes can even prevent you from getting a job. 78% of consumers who disputed credit report errors were successful in removing them. Now let's dive into the process of how to improve your credit score. What a good credit report should look like. Payment history, 100% high impact. Credit card utilization, 6% high impact. Negatory marks, 0 high impact. Age of credit history, 5 years 9 months medium impact. Chapter 2. Understanding your credit report. Getting started. Prep your credit report, the staging process. Remove any misspelled names or extra names. Remove any old addresses. Always call credit bureaus to have personal items removed. Equifax, 1-888-548-7878. Experian, 1-855-414-6048. TransUnion, 1-800-916-8800. Do not waste up to 30 days to prep or report before filing a dispute. The dispute process. Opt out of secondary credit reporting companies to remove their services and suppress their report so they will not report to companies on your behalf. You do not want them reporting behind-the-scenes information while you are disputing negative accounts. You do not want TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian to have information to verify your accounts. When it comes to opting out of the secondary reporting companies, you can use the following agencies. LexisNexis, use the online opt-out choice. LexisNexis is the main reporting agency that holds information for bankruptcies, judgments, and tax liens. Web, https://optout.lexisnexis.com. Address, P.O. Box 933, Dayton, Ohio 45401. Email, privacy.information.manager@lexisnexis.com. Phone, 866-490-1920. Innovis, use the online opt-out choice. Web, https://www.innovis.com/securityfreeze/index. Address, P.O. Box 26, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania 15230. Phone, 800-540-2505. CoreLogic, use the online opt-out choice. Web, https://credcofreeze.corelogic.com. Address, P.O. Box 105281, Atlanta, Georgia 303485281. Phone, 1-877-532-8778. SageStream, call or fax to opt out. Web, https://www.sagestreamllc.com/security-freeze. Address, SageStream, LLC Consumer Office, P.O. Box 503793, San Diego, California 92150. Fax, 858-451-2847. Phone, 1-888-395-0277. ARS, call or mail. Web, https://www.ars-consumeroffice.com/securityfreeze.faces. Address, Advanced Resolution Services Incorporated 5005 Rockside Road Suite 600, Independence, Ohio 44131. Fax, 216-615-7642. Phone, 1-800-392-8911. You can use a basic dispute to challenge negative items on your credit report using the DIY credit repair template form. It allows you to challenge the validity of the accounts on your credit repair. You are asking the companies to verify all of the accounts on your account are valid. Use the custom 609 letter that we have provided to dispute negative items on your credit report. I added more language from different laws which causes companies to remove more negative items from your credit report. Disputing information on your credit report. Step 1, Basic Dispute. You include inquiries, collection accounts, closed accounts. You'll receive letters back notifying you if the items were removed or verified. Then you proceed to Step 2. Step 2, the 609 letter, the Prove It letter. The 609 letter is based on rights granted under Section 609 of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Under Section 609, credit reporting agencies are required to disclose certain information to consumers who request it. In addition to the required disclosure of information in your credit file, Section 609 of the FCRA requires credit bureaus to provide a summary of your rights under the FCRA, a list of the federal agencies who enforce the FCRA, and a statement that the credit bureau is not required to remove accurate, negative information unless it is outdated or cannot be verified. Step 3, Validation of debt to creditor. Immediately after you receive your results, whichever accounts were verified, you put them in the Validation of Investigations letter. Send this to the creditor, not credit bureaus. You have the right to request disclosure of information from the credit bureaus. You don't have to state anything special or use certain language to exercise your right. Simply write to the credit bureau and request disclosure of information under Section 609 of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You should always draft your own letters to the credit bureaus based on your specific credit report information. As with all correspondence with credit bureaus, send your letter via certified mail so you can track the receipt of the letter and time a response from the credit bureaus. The FCRA doesn't dictate a specific time frame for a credit bureau to respond to a disclosure request made under Section 609. 30 to 45 days is a reasonable amount of time to wait for a response. Credit Report Dispute Companies. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, an agency of the United States government responsible for consumer protection in the financial sector that works for American consumers, responsible providers, and the economy as a whole. To remove negative items, you can also use cfpb.gov. It's more time-consuming but it is very effective. Federal Trade Commission, FTC, if there was identity theft, an independent agency of the United States government whose principal mission is the enforcement of civil U.S. antitrust law and the promotion of consumer protection. Better Business Bureau, BBB, a private non-profit organization with the mission to advance marketplace trust. Most creditors have an established history and rating with the BBB. Contact the BBB when dealing with a company making the dispute process difficult. The business will have a better chance of complying with your dispute if their rating and reputation is at stake. You have a better chance of your collection being removed when coupled with a CFPB complaint. Attorney General in Collectors State, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, FDCPA, makes certain behaviors unlawful for third-party creditors. Contact the Attorney General's office in your state to file a complaint against a creditor. The state attorney general has the ability to take action against a creditor, based on the details of the complaint filed. This action promotes an opportunity to invalidate your creditors during the dispute process. Late payments. If you have late payments, call the creditors first to see if they have a forgiveness program so they can remove those items from your report. You have to consider that the person who answers the phone may not be the individual who can help you. Make sure that you speak to at least 3 people at the company and request forgiveness assistance. If no one is willing to assist you with your request, you should send a forgiveness letter that details the steps that you took and your financial situation. The forgiveness letter may give you additional traction in your process. If that does not work, use the dispute process to state that they are reporting inaccurate information on your account about missed payments. You can use the dispute letters in the typical method or the 2-week method or the CFPB. Special circumstances. Collection accounts, make sure you freeze everything for your big accounts including any collections, repossessions, closed accounts, foreclosures. Bankruptcies, judgments, and tax liens, freeze everything, and submit a Direct 609 letter to repair your accounts. The 2-week method has been very successful recently. When people file identity theft claims, credit bureaus are notorious for wiping out all their credit inquiries. Look and analyze your credit report. Pull your credit from Identity IQ or go to Experian.com to pull all 3 credit reports. Deletion process. After we stage our credit report, we use the CFPB to overwrite the 3 credit bureaus. Here are the steps in the deletion process. Step 1. File a basic dispute letter via certified mail. Step 2. Provide companies with a 609 letter via certified mail. Step 3. Provide companies with a validation to debt letter via certified mail. When you go through the deletion process, always keep your letters. It is illegal for credit bureaus to put negative items back on your report once it has been deemed unverified or inaccurate. If they ever add it back to your credit report, file a report with CFPB to make sure that companies do not try to add those items back on your report. Credit bureaus are privately owned companies. They are not government-owned companies, but they are government-regulated companies. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, regulates government companies like the credit companies. You can file a dispute with the CFPB, and they remove items within 14 days with companies except Equifax, which takes longer. 2-week method, 14-day deletion method. Stage your credit report and then send a direct 609 letter first. We do not do a challenge before sending the letter. Send in a basic 609 letter backdated 2 weeks as the date of the dispute, and do not send it certified mail so that the actual received date of the letter is not time-stamped. For example, if you are sending a dispute letter on the 28th to remove inquiries and negative accounts, put the 14th as the date on the letter. Make sure you do not put more than 10 items on your dispute letter. The system sees the date that the letter was dated and registers that as the date it was received. In 14 days, you send a demand to comply letter, which means if the collection company of the creditor has not responded, the company has to remove the item from your account. Go to CFPB and file a complaint against Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian and state that the credit companies are not complying with their own policies in a timely manner. You should file the complaint with the CFPB 14 days after you mail your complaint letter regular mail so that it doesn't allow the credit bureaus time to investigate your claims. Instead of having 30 days to respond to your letter, their system will register it as having been received 14 days earlier than it actually arrived. The complaint with CFPB will allow them to contact the credit bureaus to inquire why your letter is unaddressed within 30 days even though it only has been 14 days. CFPB contacts those credit bureaus to show that the investigation process was not completed within 30 days. CFPB requires that the credit bureaus remove the negative items from your credit report. You can get about 60 to 70% of the negative items removed from your credit report with this process. Chapter 3. Structuring your credit. First steps to structuring your credit. Your payment history needs to be 100%. Your credit accounts should be at least 4 years old. Your derogatory marks should be 0. The system credit bureaus use is automated. It processes dispute letters when they are scanned. How do they verify the information in the dispute letters about negative collection accounts? There is a computer system and database which houses the information. Credit bureaus use secondary reporting agencies such as LexisNexis, SageStream, CoreLogic, and Innovis on the back end. These companies house our information on the back end which verify the information the creditors send to credit bureaus. You can only remove items from your credit report if they are unverified or inaccurate. Cleaning up your credit report. How can we make items on our credit report unverified or inaccurate? We want to look at how many names we have on our credit report. If you have 3 misspelled names on your credit report, this means the name is misspelled by the credit bureau. Make sure you call the credit bureaus to use an over-the-phone dispute about the basic spelling of your name so they will remove it. You are telling the credit bureau the person on the account is not you. Remove the old addresses off your old credit report unless this is the place where most of your current accounts have been opened. You may need to use a different address for your credit report like a relative's address so that it does not raise red flags with the credit bureaus. Only have one job on your credit report. When we do apply for funding, we show that we only have one job to show stability in our work history. Obtaining secure loans. What accounts can we add to our credit report? Use smaller local banks like PNC, SunTrust, and Regions Bank and credit unions for secured loans such as auto loans. Adding primary accounts. What other primary accounts can we put on our credit report? A primary account is connected strictly to your Social Security number and your ability to pay the bill. If you are a renter, use companies like Rent Reporters and Rental Karma to help you establish a positive rental history. They backdate your rent by 2 years if your landlord says you have paid on time for this period of time. They will report your account by 5 years, however, only report 2 years of payment history. You can use 2 of these on your report. If you have a family member who owns a home, they can report you as paying rent for 2 years to help you establish your good payment history using Rent Reporters and Rental Karma. Monetizing primary accounts. You can use trade lines to help people build their credit. Trade lines are lines of credit the borrower has had in good standing for at least 2 years. TradeLines add you as an authorized user to help you establish your credit and boost your credit score. Authorized user, a person added to an account and has rights to use the account which is not in their name. TradeLines help you establish new credit, build business credit, purchase new homes, rent apartments, and lease or purchase cars. This cycle can last for about 3 months, and you can renew it for an additional cycle which will give a person 6 months of positive payment history. If you are a homeowner, and you have people who are looking to build their credit, you can charge them a fee to report them as having a positive payment history. Charge them $1,000 to tell companies like Rent Reporters and Rental Karma that they have paid their rent on time so they can establish a positive payment history. Many people need this service when they are rebuilding their credit because they do not have a positive rental history. They may have been late on their rental payments in the past. They do not want their landlord to report their late payments, which will lower their credit score. If you have a 3-bedroom rental property, you can use this process for 3 people who are renting a room for you. You can collect $1,000 to $1,500 from each person so they can buy a primary and report their payment history to these rental verification companies even though they do not live at the address physically. The credit score of the homeowner is not important to the companies. They only want to verify the individual made on-time payments to you to live at the address provided. Everything we do to build our credit turns into something we can use to make money and become a service. Self-lenders. Self-lender reports payments like you have a loan from them. They are like a savings account program which helps you build your credit history. You are making payments each month in which they give you back at the end of your agreement. You pay $50 to $70 per month for them to report to your credit report that you pay on time each month. It takes 14 days for Rent Reporters or Rental Karma to report your payment history to your credit report. Age of TradeLines. You can purchase TradeLines which have balances under 5% utilization and over 5 years old. The age of your TradeLines shows a longer payment history and makes you appear as a lower risk to credit agencies. TradeLine accounts should have low balances as to not increase your debt-to-income ratio on your credit report.